probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours after the game, I wasn't getting any responses from them, so I thought that's not a big deal. They're probably on the plane, heading home. I got a call about 7:30 that evening from a buddy of mine that works at the University of Colorado and said, hey, I've got a friend who works for the NTSB, and they said there's been a plane crash, and they're trying to figure out if it was one of the OSU planes or whatever. Now back then, we would travel like with 3 or 4 different smaller planes that were all donated to us from private donors. Coach Sutton had a lot of ties to these people, so they would hook us up with these jets. It would just get us there a lot faster than having to jump on a commercial flight out of Oklahoma City or Tulsa, fly up there, have to bus back, all that stuff. So unfortunately that night, one of the planes went down. There were 10 guys on that plane. So when I first talked to the NTSB guy, he was just kind of asking, who might be on the plane? How many people do you think would be on there? And I really had no idea. I traveled with the women's team. Sometimes you'd have 6 people, sometimes you would have 12. So that right after I got that phone call, I drove out to the airport to see if I could figure out who was still either out on the plane or had already landed. I ran into Larry Reese, who is the voice of the Cowboys. You guys will hear him the entire time you're here. He does football and men's basketball and women's basketball. Anyhow, I ran into Larry out there, and so we were trying to figure out, we'd point, okay, well that's Pat's car, so we know he's not back yet, but we didn't even know if all the other planes had made it back. So then I went to the office. I called Amy Weeks, who was our women's golf coach at the time, and asked her to go out to Karen Hancock. Karen's husband, Will, right there. Karen was our head soccer coach, and Will worked in the office with me. And so I'd asked Amy to run out to her house just in case she got the bad news that something had happened. At the same time, I went over to my friend Molly, who was Pat's sister and was in school here. I wanted to make sure that she was okay if she got that inevitable phone call. So that night, we just kind of, hung together with our friends. We didn't really realize what was going on. They finally, about 10:30 that night, they had a news conference, and they actually announced who the people were that were on the plane. The next couple of weeks were kind of a blur. It was hard. We're trying to do our job and still work, but we're still trying to mourn our friends that had died. The Big 12 was very helpful. They rescheduled a bunch of the basketball games, so the guys didn't have to play right away. We eventually played Missouri here in Gallagher. It was our first home game after the plane crash, and it was the most emotional game I've ever been to. There were over 15,000 people in that arena, and they were just cheering the guys, and they ended up winning pretty big. It was just kind of devastating. I went to 4 funerals that week and a half. The one benefit, I guess, that came from this thing was OSU created a new travel policy so that student athletes would no longer be on those small planes. You guys will either bus, you'll fly on a commercial flight, or some of you may fly on a charter, which is a plane that's got 30 seats on it, 45 seats on it, and they always have 2 pilots. And what happened was, after that was implemented, the rest of the country actually took that into effect. So that, regardless of where you end up going to school or whatever to play athletics, you're going to have that same travel policy.